All right, folks, let's get airborne with our critical training on how to trade the Death Star, the stock that we call the Death Star, AMZN. So do me a favor, silence that electronic nicotine, grab a pen and a piece of paper because you're going to want to take notes, because this is the brief where we fully get airborne and target AMZN. We covered in our last video, I asked you a question about which fighter aircraft would you fly? Was it that F4 Phantom with 300 switches and dials, just, very maintenance intensive, a lot of heads down in that cockpit. You're not out looking around for bad guys or focusing on your targets like you would be in this aircraft, the F-35 Lightning II, the Joint Strike Fighter. So, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Matthew Buckley. My call sign is Wiz. As you know, I flew the FA-18 Hornet for about 15 years for the United States Navy. Graduated from the Navy Fighter Weapons School, which many of you know as Top Gun. Got to fly in a bad guy jet over Pakistan. Flew with the Blue Angels and also was an LSO, a landing signal officer. I helped my fellow aviators get aboard day, night, or in bad weather. When I wasn't flying, I'd be standing on the back of the ship there, helping that get safely aboard, and also flew 44 combat sorties over Iraq. So I had a great time doing it, but I applied what I learned and I brought it to trading. Well, how did that all come about? Well, folks, you don't join the Navy to become rich. You join the Navy, as my parents instilled upon me, to give back to your country. For who much is given, much is required, right? So I was always taught about service above self and wanted to fly for the Navy. Grew up on the Jersey Shore. Loved the beach, loved the ocean, loved aviation. All that made a Reese's peanut butter cup of wanting to be a Navy fighter pilot. But was always interested in finance. My dad, before he went to work every day, he'd be reading his paper, and I'd ask about those hieroglyphics on the back page, and he explained what stocks were. And hey, Matthew, if you bought a Happy Meal this afternoon and you own McDonald's stock, you could potentially make some money as an investor in that. So that sounded pretty cool. So as I got older and got into the Navy and was a young naval aviator, I started, applying everything I learned flying a fighter aircraft to my trading. Right? Having a strategy, being disciplined, managing risk, implementing appropriate tactics, knowing when to get out of a good or bad situation before it got worse, contingency planning, asking what could go wrong during this mission that I could talk about in the brief before I ever got airborne. My results ended up being so good, folks. I ended up popping up on the radar of one of the largest equity options volatility arbitrage firms on the face of this planet. Multi-billion-dollar firm based headquartered right there in the beautiful Chicago Board of Trade at the intersection of Jackson and LaSalle. Had an absolute blast when I was there. Helped build a hedge fund, helped build a retail brokerage. Many of you know or used to know as Options House. It is now E-Trade, and also was their managing director of strategy. In my spare time, I say that jokingly, I was also the founder and CEO of ONN.TV, the Options News Network. We were more or less the CNBC for options. I take retail investors such as you behind the scenes of what was going on the floor of the CBOE on a daily basis, unusual options activity, what was moving stocks and what was moving options. I had a blast, folks, but I'd be lying to you if I didn't tell you I felt like Valentine in Trading Places, that a couple rich white people were making a dollar bet on me, and turns out that I ended up winning. Had an absolute blast, but hey, how many of you are from Chicago? Show of hands, right? It's beautiful city. Love the Midwest. Love Midwesterners. Like the wine. Like the cow. But I got to be honest with you, man. I'm a beach guy, so no offense. Packed up my squadron. That's actually a shot of us when we lived in Chicago. And we packed up and went down here to God's Waiting Room in Boca Raton, Florida. The young man on the right is now 19. He's a sophomore at Norwich University, the Military College of Vermont. Apparently, I dropped him on his head when he was younger because he wants to be a Marine Corps fighter pilot, while his dad was a Navy fighter pilot. My boy Jack on the left in high school wants to go to the United States Naval Academy, and my daughter Keely, who's 11 going on 29. She's not allowed to leave the house until I'm 6 feet under the ground. All right, here we go. Let's go ahead and get airborne with what we're going to be talking about. At the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, think about it. Trading is a form of combat. Somebody's going to win and somebody's going to lose. So why wouldn't you use those same methodologies, that same ethos that kept me safe over the skies of Iraq to your trading? Makes absolute sense. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about why Wall Street has just absolutely lied to you to date. You don't have to put all your eggs in one basket, and you don't have to diversify as long as you got one solid egg and it is an armored basket, right? And of course, we are talking about Amazon. We talked in the last video about the risks of trading in a single stock. We laughed about Bear Stearns and Jim Cramer about how it was a steal at $70 and 2 days later, it was at zero. We talked about Lehman Brothers and how both of those companies, being financial firms, they didn't own anything. I mean, hell, it doesn't even look like they own the sign as people carried away for auction. They didn't own anything. We also laughed about this. Pets.com, sock puppet, and companies like Enron. Now, at the end of the day, it's not super funny because there's people in these companies, folks. But guess what? Those stocks did go to zero, and there is a risk in that, right? And we also talked about President Donald J. Trump being a potential threat to Amazon. Not necessarily him personally, but recently the alphabet soup of government, the DOJ, the FTC, started poking around these big tech companies, right? Amazon ain't a tech company, folks. It's a services company. They use tech. They have AWS, Amazon Web Services, but folks, they ain't a tech company. But at the end of the day, potential threat, the FTC poking around a little bit, but if you look at the history of the FTC poking around companies, Standard Oil, the Bells, some of these antitrust things, 5, 10, 15 years later is when they come out with an opinion, and that's on the civil side. FTC looking in Amazon. Guess who's looking into Facebook, Google, and Twitter? Different alphabet soup, DOJ, Department of Justice. Criminal versus FTC. So always, before we go on any mission, we always have to talk about the risk to success, and there are some of the potential risks. But obviously the benefits, ladies and gentlemen, you trade the same name and potentially profit no matter what direction Amazon is going to move, up, down, or sideways. You're staying focused on the news that impacts Amazon instead of a bunch of different stocks or ETFs, and you become an expert in that name, reducing time doing what? Looking around at other positions. Right, I jokingly threw my buddy under the bus. He's a plastic surgeon down here in Boca Raton. Perfect, and he's in surgery. He's office hours. He had 33 positions in his portfolio. I do this for a living, folks, and that would have been hard for me to follow. So we simplified his cockpit up into what? 2 flat panel displays, man. He went from an F4 to a Joint Strike Fighter, and he hasn't looked back, folks. It's a smart jet. Now, for those of you who just can't wrap your mind around the whole trading in one name, are you crazy? Folks, I've been there. Wall Street, they push their own mother in front of traffic to make a buck, folks, okay? So they like you to diversify. It's more fees, right, if you're trading through whatever broker, or if you're using a registered investment advisor, certified. It's a racket, folks. Now, many of you sit there, well, why aren't you doing it? I did do this, folks. I helped run a multi-billion-dollar options trading firm. When we made it in the military, you know what we were taught to do? You put the ladder down. You make it on Wall Street, you pull the ladder up, and you get another house in the Hamptons, folks. So I'm doing this to help you. I was a flight instructor in the Navy. I'm an options instructor because I love leveling the playing field. But if you just can't get your mind around I have to diversify, XLY. We also trade XLY in the service that you're going to get access to. Why? XLY, why? Amazon makes up 25% of this ETF. Okay, so there, look on the screen. There's your diversification. Home Depot, Mickey D's, Nike, Starbucks, we could do without. Lowe's, Booking, TJX, General Motors, Target. If you have to diversify, we'll be trading the XLY as well. Here's the other reason. When we get into our live trading service, you're going to see that maybe one base position in Amazon, all the way out to June of 2021, for example, one contract might be 17 to 20 grand-ish. But that's why I'm also saying solo Amazon. Maybe this is the only name you're going to trade in. Because you'll see, let's say you have 2, 3, 4 contracts in Amazon. Once you're potentially selling some upside calls against that position, you could potentially bringing in thousands of dollars a week, let alone a month, by doing that. So we have a lot to talk about. We'll talk about the tactics. I'm going to share with you a bullish tactic in a couple minutes that we just placed on Amazon. But when you think about it, we're going to establish a base position first. with synthetic stock or a long call diagonal. Now, if you're sitting there going, Wiz, I just dropped off the planet Mars. I have no idea what a call or a put is. Don't worry about it. In our service, I'm going to teach you all of these things. I'm going to teach you what synthetic stock is or a long call diagonal. I'm going to teach you what a protective put is, right? We're not a service that just airdrops you in the middle of Afghanistan and throws a rifle at you and says, good luck. No, here's why we're doing this mission. Here's what you need to accomplish. Here are the threats. Here are the resources. Let's go execute, right? So we'll get our base positions airborne, and then we're going to, if Amazon's going up, what are we going to do? We're going to trade bullish spreads. Oh, man, what if it's going down? We're going to trade bearish spreads, and if it's trading sideways, we can still make money trading a tactic that is called an iron condor. Here's what's interesting, folks. We're going to, those base positions, we're going to hop in our Joint Strike Fighter and go the speed of light, sound, whatever it is. We're going to go as fast as we can out into the future. I'm going to show you the options chain we can go out to right now, June of 2021, and get bullish on Amazon. So you can kind of be bipolar in this service when solo Amazon. We're going to be long-term bullish on Amazon. I personally think Amazon by June of 2021 is a $3,000 stock. So we're going to be long-term bullish on Amazon, but guess what we can be in the front month? Bullish, bearish, or neutral. So if Amazon's going down in the front month, it's not like it's changed our June 21 opinion, right? I still think Amazon's a $3,000 stock, but guess what? It's a little bit under pressure right now. The Fed's doing this, the Chinese do whatever. Amazon's going down a little bit. We're going to make money on it going down. Oh, God, it's on its horse and it's galloping again. We're going to make money with it going up. Hey, man, it's just chopping around sideways. We're going to make money on it chopping around sideways. Okay, so that's what we're going to do in this service. We're going to establish base positions in Amazon or XLY or both. Some folks in this service get a big base position in Amazon and a medium or smaller position in XLY, or even vice versa. Wiz, I have a big base position in XLY and a smaller position in Amazon. And then we're going to trade the front months. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to show you a front month spread on Amazon. So get ready, let's get airborne and trade. All right, ladies and gentlemen, just pulled up my E-Trade platform. You can trade with whoever you want to trade with. We have a great strategic partnership. Well, it goes back to Trade Monster. It goes back to Options House, which is a retail brokerage I helped build. And E-Trade recently scooped up Options House and Trade Monster and wrapped it up in one big trading burrito here. But got my solo Amazon account up here. And here's what we're going to do. I'm going to create a base position. I changed my mind. I know I just told you I'm going to show you a front month trade. I'm not. This is an added bonus. Anybody can do a front month spread. I'm going to show you the base position in Amazon that I would establish today if I had just airdropped in from Mars and joined the service. Okay, so this is off script, and it's funny because when I do these type of briefs, I get emails or texts from folks, and hey, great to be a member. I can't believe you actually show the trades before we even get into the service. No, folks, I'm not some 90 PowerPoint slide guy that's going to say, hey, look at all this great stuff from the past and pay me a heap load of money and believe me. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to show you how to establish a base position in Amazon. It's called synthetic stock. Now, before I lose anybody, this is going to be really easy. What's synthetic stock? Well, you're actually not going out and buying, $1.2 billion worth of Amazon stock. We're going to use one contract. But the term synthetic stock means that you don't get two things, and you really don't care about either. And it's funny with Amazon, you don't get a dividend, which if you know Jeff Bezos, if the guy makes 1 penny, he's going to be mad. He doesn't want to make a penny, folks. He wants to take every profit that he makes in Amazon and do what? Roll it back into buying stuff, developing, innovating, buying airplanes, buying warehouses. So the guy doesn't, I think he said over his dead body, the stock's going to give a dividend. It's never going to do it, so we don't care about that. The other thing you don't get with synthetic stock is to vote. You're not a shareholder. You actually don't own the shares. But last time I checked, Jeff Bezos and his ex-wife own just about all the voting shares of Amazon. So don't worry about it. So synthetic stock, we're going to put on a position that acts exactly like the stock will, but we're going to do it at a fraction of a price. So check this out. So here's my options chain. Like I said earlier, we're going to hop in our joint strike fighter and we're going to fly the speed of light all the way out to as far in time as we can. Now, I just looked at the June 21s before I hopped on the air. If you can see, the June 21s down here aren't displaying any data. So this little bit of a joint strike fighter has some stray trons here. So I'm still going to do the demonstration of how I would put on synthetic stock. It's the same procedure, whether you use Jan 2021 or June 21. All I'm saying is that when you put on synthetic stock, I like to go as far out in time as I can. Why? Because it gives this position time to work, right? All right, so I have the Jan 21 series of options pulled up. Over on the left side are the calls, and over on the right side of the puts. Even if you just understand the basics of options, you know that, hey man, if I'm bullish on Amazon, I could buy some calls. You got it. You're halfway there. What would be the flip side of buying some calls? Well, if you're also bullish on Amazon, you could sell some puts. So let's do that, okay? Amazon closed today at 1952.32. If you look here, there isn't a 1952.32 strike. So what I do to create synthetic stock is I go to the strike that's closest to what's called at the money. That appears to be the 1950 strike. So I'm going to click on this right here, okay? So buying one call in Amazon here, hey, I'm bullish. But I also just said selling one put in Amazon is also bullish. Okay, so I'm just going to take you to a picture real quick. If you know anything about investing or investing 101, let me show you the P&L chart. You ready for this? That's long stock, right? This dotted line right there is Amazon's current stock price. Goes up 20 bucks, this trade goes up 20 bucks, goes down 100, goes down. It is a one-for-one change. So you see that line is long stock, and this position is synthetic stock. It's awesome. This is great. So check this out. Let's review real quick. When you buy a call and sell a put with the same expiration, Jan 21, and same strike, you get what we call synthetic stock. Very, very, very cool. One contract, folks. And remember, from your options basics, which you'll get in your manuals that I'll talk about in a little bit, one contract equals 100 shares of Amazon. Do the math, folks. If you wanted to go out and buy 100 shares of Amazon today, good luck. Hopefully you won the Powerball. Okay, most of us on this webinar, this brief, didn't win the Powerball. So take a look at this. Getting long synthetic stock in Amazon down here would only cost us about $6,300 out of pocket. Now, I'm going to teach you something when you become a Top Gun Options member in a little bit, that whenever I look at a new trade, I always click on this analysis tool. Let's take a look at the metrics. And I'm going to teach you right now, you're going to start right now, even before you become a member, that when I click on this, you're going to look at one place and one place only, okay? This isn't going to be a nice visual, but like I told you earlier, I grew up in South Jersey, one of 6 Irish Catholic kids. I'm going to turn into a Catholic nun. You ready for this? And if you don't look where I tell you to look, I'm going to crack your knuckles with Sister Matthew's ruler. Here we go. I want you to look at max potential loss. It's going to be a sad face or an angry face. You ready? 3, 2, 1. Max potential loss. Oh my God, Wiz, I come to a brief and the guy's showing me a trade that could potentially lose 200 grand. Throttle back here. Of course, that's the max potential loss. When you think about it, if you're long, if you went out and bought 100 shares of Amazon today in the market, what's the underlying risk? Say it with me, folks. What's the underlying risk in Amazon if you bought the stock? We already talked about this a little while ago. That Amazon goes to what? There you go, 0. You ready? Look at the probability of maximum loss, 0.0. That's Mr. Blutarski's GPA in Animal House. That decimal point goes, or the 0.000 is probably a 1 all the way out here, like at the 20th spot. Amazon ain't going out of business, folks, but guess what? The risk management department at E-Trade is going to margin you, or we call it haircut in the industry, as if it is going to 0. But we talked about it, folks. I'm not going to beat this dead horse. But here's the problem. This max potential loss here, if you're trading with a margin account, and again, can't give you individual investment advice. We're about to training here, and you'd have to talk about this with your broker dealer or your registered investment advisor. But it's going to impact your margin. This is going to eat up a lot of margin. So what could we do? What could we do? Let's think about this intuitively. What could we do to show the E-Trade risk department that even if Amazon does go to zero, we're fine? Think about it. If you think a stock's going to go down with options, what could you do? You could buy a put. A lot of light bulbs going on, right? We could buy what I call a disaster put, right? What would be a disaster? Well, most people say, I don't know, if stock goes down 10, 20%, that would be a disaster. Some, people call a pullback of 20% bearish, right? So I tend to look at a disaster put. Why don't we place, instead of this thing, Amazon potentially flying into the dirt and hitting zero, why don't we place a disaster put underneath it, right? So maybe let's go back here. Let's click add option. Let's buy what we call a disaster put. Let's throw it a couple hundred. What would be a disaster? I think all the way back in, what was it, the fall, Amazon hit like 1,500. Let's go down and buy a 1,500 disaster put. Okay. I also use the terms interchangeably. A protective put, right? Disaster put, protective put. We're looking to protect this position. Okay. Now we went from about just over $6,000. So essentially, the cost of this trade doubled. It went from over 6 to almost 14. But look at what it did to our haircut. Again, you ready, Sister Mary Matthew here? 3, 2, 1, max potential loss. Wow. Wiz, you're a wizard. No, I'm not a wizard or a sorcerer. Look at this. Instead of Amazon flying into the dirt, we placed a protective put that said, hey, E-Trade Risk Management Department, even if Amazon goes to zero, our losses are stopped out below 1,500 in this case because we placed a disaster put. And look at what the risk did. The risk went from 201 grand to 59. And it definitely improved your margin. It didn't eat up a lot of margin and a lot of haircut. Okay, and I'm not going to eat up too much time on the webinar. I'll train you how to do this once you're in the service here. Move the disaster put around. I don't know. Let's go up to 1,600. Okay, so the closer you go to it, hey, maybe Amazon could pull back to 1,600. Look what happened. The price of that put obviously becomes more expensive. That insurance is, well, geez, Amazon might actually implode $350. Who knows? So the cost of the trade goes up, and take a look at the max potential loss. Well, it's still a little bit in line there. So I'm going to go back to that 1,500. I like this. So here you go. On your screen right now is what we call a synthetic stock with a protective put. Coming out of pocket, $13,860. Let's just round up and say $14,000. Now, I know some of you trade smaller counts, medium counts. That looks like a lot of money. What did we talk about at the beginning of this? This is why it's called Solo Amazon. Do you have 15 positions in your portfolio? Are you folks? I did this for a living, and following 15 positions is hard. Why not look at becoming kind of your own market maker? I have buddies, I have a buddy who's an Apple market maker. He doesn't even know a stock market exists. All he trades is Apple. Simplifies his life. So that might look like a big chunk of change, but in reality, this is what it's all about. Potentially focusing on one name, you're on the news with it, you know the movement, you know how the stock reacts, what it's doing, what it tends to do. Boom. Now, on your screen, like I said, is synthetic stock with a disaster put. Check out, and everybody remember how much, $13,860. Remember that. Why? Because I'm also going to teach you how to maybe bring in a little cash by selling what we call a front month upside call. What's the front month? Folks, you're sitting in it. June, July, August, September, whatever the month you're sitting in is the front month. So maybe we could sell a front month upside call out a couple weeks to bring in some premium. The recent high on Amazon, almost a little bit of a triple top here, is what? 1960? No, 1970, and we're up here around 1970. Why don't we go out? Let's take a look at the options chain here. Let's go out to like the regular July expiration and maybe sell an upside call. Well, if we go out a little too far, that's earnings. So, or if we just look at maybe a weekly option, That might be a good idea as well. Well, you know, I'll tell you what, that's how you can potentially bring in a little extra scratch. It looks like the E-Trade platform after hours here, as I'm shooting this, isn't cooperating with the quotes, but that happens. Obviously, when we're doing the solo Amazon live in the market, you can obviously get real time quotes. So we'll talk to E-Trade about this. So yeah, let's just take that off there. That's what I wanted to cover, was just establishing a base position. So if you really paid attention, which I hope you did or took notes, this is the same exact procedure. This is why, you know, pilots and people who are very, you know, kind of checklist oriented can do very well, because copy and paste this exact procedure to build a base position over here in what? XLY. Right? Fly out in your time machine. See, this doesn't have a June 21 expiration, the XLY, only Jan 21. So it's the same procedure, folks. I go out, I look at what the what the stock is, or in this case, the ETF. Let me go back to Amazon. It's close to 1950. Buy one Jan 21 1950 call, sell the 1950 put. That creates the synthetic stock. That's your base position. And buy a disaster put. And like I said, you can sit here, play with the disaster. Let's go down to 1400. Man, if Amazon really imploded, that would really be a disaster, down to 1400. What's that do? Well, it lowered the price of this trade down to 14 grand. Oops, let me go mid-market here. Actually about 12 grand, right? 12 grand, and let's take a look at the max potential loss. So obviously, the max potential loss went up, because instead of doing the 1500 put right here, we went down to this one. So it lowered the cost of the trade, but it increased the max potential loss. Should be very intuitive, right? But I like the one that's on the screen. Let's go back to the 1500. This is exactly what you do. So you get your base position established in Amazon or XLY or both. Real quick, let's go over to here, and I want to show you the chart of Amazon. Let's compare it to the chart of XLY. Take a look at that. Almost perfect correlation. As we covered, there's Nike, there's Target, there's Starbucks, there's a lot of other names in there, but the Amazon being 25% of that is its biggest holding, so pretty close. Establish your base position in Amazon. Every once in a while, we'll consider selling some front month upside calls to bring in some premium, and also trade front month spreads. Right now, Amazon's in a nice bullish uptrend. We'd look at a bull put spread, and we actually did look at a bull put spread this afternoon at 3 o'clock and put on a bull put spread going into earnings. So we have our base position on, we have a bull put spread on. Didn't sell any front month upside calls today. Why? Because it's in an uptrend. I'm going to teach you a lot of whizisms when you're here at Top Gun Options. When something is on a tear, either join it, bull put spreads, or get out of the way. Don't sell upside calls. Okay, so if you felt like you're drinking from the fire hose for a little bit during this portion, don't worry about it. I didn't want to show you a front month trade, because those are easy. Those are a dime a dozen. This is the meat and potatoes of the solo Amazon service, so check that out. This was definitely worth the price of admission. Did want to do this because this is a little bit of the secret sauce. This is the base position, and then everything after that is going to be super gravy. I'm going to go a little bit on a limb here, folks. If Amazon by, in this case, expiration Jan of 2021 is around where I think it's going to be, around a $3,000 stock, this trade will be a $100,000 profit. Pausing for effect. We've placed these types of synthetic stock trades before. Matter of fact, we need to get over there, because a lot of people are asking, all right, how do I, done, let's go. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you our case studies from current folks. One guy, Greg, 92 grand in a trade he just closed out. Absolute potential to do this with a little bit of out of pocket of 13,860. I know that might be a lot of money for some, not a lot of money. Doesn't matter. If you're interested in just trading in one name, potentially being that market maker and focusing just on this is the service for you. So having said that, I'll tell you what. Let's get airborne. It's time to, with all the interest I'm seeing flying through the chat box here, it's time to get airborne and call fights on. Okay, so let's. I'm going to tell you how you can be a member of our brand new service here at Top Gun Op. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's that time in the mission where we yell fights on over the radio. That's when it is time to get down to business and start dogfighting, and it is time for you to do the exact same thing. Fights on. with our solo Amazon service. This is our newest live trading service here at Top Gun Options. Going on 10 years in business. We have other skill-based model portfolios from weekly options to accelerated retirement. Those are valued individually at $167 a month. You can get into solo Amazon, folks, for only $97 a month. But here's the catch. Only in this briefing. $97 a month offer is good to go. Otherwise, we're going to jack it back up to $167 in line with the other services. Here's what I need you to do. This is the only link where you can get $97 a month. Like I said, it'll be going up to $167 here. Go.topgunoptions.com/solo. We knock out our solo Amazon live trading session every Monday at 3 o'clock, 3 o'clock Eastern, all times Eastern here at Top Gun Options. Whoa, hold on, Wiz. I work Monday at 3 o'clock Eastern. Don't worry about it. 85% of our current Top Gun Options members work. Guess what? You can't attend. You're going to get a time-sensitive text alert on your cell phone the moment that I place a trade in the solo Amazon service. Guess what? Redundancy is key here. Not only do you get a time-sensitive text alert, you're going to get an email alert because they fire simultaneously. Here's a screenshot of a recent solo Amazon email. But look at what I do at the top here. I cut and paste the text alert in the top right there. So the text alert's at the top of the email, and then in the email you get a screenshot of the trade, the exact placement of the trade, and also the metrics, the potential max loss, the potential max profit, all the probabilities, everything is included in the email. And guess what? You also receive about 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes after we conduct the brief. It takes about 30 to 45 minutes to render it, so you're going to get access to the replay. A lot of folks watch the replay after the kids go to bed or later in the week when they have some time, or catch up with the replays over the weekend. You don't have to attend to get access to this industry-leading service. We're the only one out there doing this right now, folks. We're turning you into, or training you how to potentially being a market maker in one name, right? So you're going to get a replay, you're going to get a time-sensitive text alert, and also an email alert. And with this link only, folks, go.topgunoptions.com/solo, we're going to throw in an added bonus, our skill-based proprietary materials, our primary, intermediate, and advanced workbooks. Now, my hat is off to the Navy, kind of copied and pasted these different names of these manuals from my primary flight training, intermediate, and advanced flight training in the Navy. Primary manual talks about these are calls, these are puts. Intermediate, spreads, and advanced, some advanced options, tactics, and the Greeks. Everything is in these manuals that you need to know, folks. Check this out. These skill-based manuals are $197. If you went to our homepage and bought these individually, it's $197 right there. So if you can do the math, you're going to be an excellent trader. Let me get this straight. $97 for 1 month of the service. I'm essentially getting $100 back in my pocket. You're absolutely right. So let's break it down for you one more time. Go.topgunoptions.com/solo. Here's what you get. Access to our weekly XLY Amazon trade brief every Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern. You get immediate text and email alerts whenever I see a pop-up target of opportunity. You're even going to get access to our online forum that we call the Ready Room. The Ready Room is that place in a fighter squadron where the pilots hang out before a flight or after the flight. I learned more about flying and fighting the Hornet in the Ready Room than I did in any manual. So you're going to get access to our online forum. And as I said, those 3 skill-based manuals taking you from this is an engine, this is meteorology, all the way up to flying off the pointy end of an aircraft carrier. Navy flight training is designed to exactly do that. Take somebody who's never even seen an airplane before, and in a short amount of time, turn them into a steely-eyed fighter pilot flying off the pointy end of an aircraft carrier. So an absolute steal, folks. Let's take a look at some of the current solo Amazon members here. Greg, I opened my Jan 21 long call diagonal on Amazon back on March 8th when the 80 Delta calls were on sale, about $2,200 off. Up nearly 31%, or nearly 15 grand in 8 trading days. David Dwight got out yesterday as well for 72% profit, but my Jan 21 is up 40 grand in 2 days. Yeah, folks, 40 grand in 2 days on an Amazon-based position. Scotty, Amazon up 11 grand on one contract, folks. That's what we talked about. This is why you might be solo Amazon. Maybe I can only get into one contract, but look at the potential profit in these positions with just one contract. Kevin, Amazon synthetic stock, late to enter, up 200%, paid $8,000, now 24 grand. Do the math, folks. That's phenomenal. Nice job, Kevin. Dennis, $7,240, closing out your VXX, which is a volatility position, and Amazon trades today. Thanks, Wiz. Greg Thompson. This is earlier when he had 2020 and 2021 long call diagonals on. Up over 16 grand this last week. Thomas, I have an October of this year. I'm up $10,000. David did Amazon TGO synthetic stock 2 months ago, up 42 grand. And Greg, this was when he was doing, check out what Greg's doing, folks. 2019, 2020, 2021. Greg has been doing this type of Amazon, rolling those leaps, those long-term Amazon positions, and printing money. Let's look at how he did in his 2019s. Up $92,000. His 2021, look at this, Feb 2nd. One contract is up 21 grand, all because of hooking up with you, Wiz, and TGO. Folks, check this out. I'm going to teach you how to do this. We're going to have our June 21 base position on Amazon, and guess what happens in the fall or in a couple more months? Some later dated Amazon options come out. So as these things grow and mature and newer option series comes out, we're going to get into those as well and close the older ones, quote unquote, for a nice profit. Ladies and gentlemen, men lie, numbers don't, and neither did these folks. These are current TGO members in the solo Amazon service. Take a look at those results. Hey, man, we have losing trades. Got to get that out of the way. The objective is to win the war. We lose a couple battles. When was it? A couple months ago when the Fed woke up and decided to get involved in capitalism, the whole market rolled over, and Amazon wasn't immune. So obviously not 1,000% foolproof or perfect, but I'm going to teach you to have the discipline and how to manage risk. We're going to talk about when to eject out of a trade for minimum loss before you even get airborne. Ladies and gentlemen, the time to figure out what I'm going to do if I get shot at by a missile over Afghanistan is not when I get shot at by a missile over Afghanistan. That's the time to execute what we already thought through in the brief. So showing all some good stuff here, but every once in a while, man, there's a swing and a miss. You got to know that, okay? Obviously. Solo Amazon, folks, our newest live trade brief. We trade Amazon all day, all night. Sounds like AMZN radio, right? We will also obviously trade XLY. Limited membership, folks. We only take 200 in here. I think we have about $1.60. So getting tight. Why do we have 200? Because I like the GoToTraining platform. Anything more than 200, we have to be in GoToWebinar. I can't see people's chat. You can't. I got to read stuff. I like a nice tight-knit squadron. We're in GoToTraining, so 200 max. $97 a month, folks. You can't beat it. I'll tell you what. If you do an annual membership, if you're ready to get airborne today with an annual membership, 25% discount. Go.topgunoptions.com/solo. And please do the math on this, folks. $197 bonus, essentially. So essentially, you're getting $100 back in your pocket today only with that link. Go.topgunoptions.com/solo. Think about it, folks. Solo Amazon, our newest live trade brief, $167 a month it's going up to unless you use this link. Go.topgunoptions.com/solo. Ladies and gentlemen, at the end of the day, you can sit there and trade 33 positions, try and find the news on each one and why is this going up and going down, and manage your personal life and your investments and everything. Or you can get on board and start flying a Joint Strike Fighter. It is time to clean up your investing cockpit, ladies and gentlemen. It is time for you to get airborne in our solo Amazon service. We're going to trade Amazon, we're going to trade XLY, and we're going to have an absolute blast doing it. Ladies and gentlemen, get airborne today with our solo Amazon service for only $97 a month or a 25% discount for an annual membership, and grab those bonuses today. Only valid with this link, go.topgunoptions.com/solo. Ladies and gentlemen, have a great rest of your day. Happy hunting. Make sure you hedge, and God bless. Welcome aboard our newest live trading service, Solo Amazon, here at Top Gun Options.